Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today we travel to ancient Kemet to be with Setna, who is exploding all over the place and doing a lot of remarkable things. Greetings, Setna. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And welcome to you and to all of our wonderful guests.
Thank you. Now, you are doing all sorts of things. I don't even know where to start with all the things. You pick a
First
place
and
and draw us into your world.
first and foremost, I am a columnist now for today's Witch magazine.
Fantastic.
They are also showing a gallery of my artwork, which you will like. And Edward Sott, who is the chief um, commander in chief of the magazine, the editor in chief, is also going to be publishing my books.
That is,
Um, it's amazing. This is a miracle. I thank the universe. I thank you. I don't think I would be where I am without Hercules Invictus at all.
I'm honored that you say that, but I think it's your time.
Well, thank you. I'm disappeared for a second there. Hold on. There I am. That was an odd thing to happen. And anyway, yeah, so that's happening. I am doing almost daily live casts for the Pernateru Temple, as you know, promoting my temple. And Phone a Wizard is also in full swing. That is my business for all of you who don't know. I am a registered psychic, I am a medium, and of course, I am a plain old fashioned witch. I have practiced witchcraft magic, ancient Egyptian magic called Heka, for about, something on 52 years. So I might know something of the craft.
Now, the word witch has come to mean different things at different times. I remember the evolution of the term when it was associated with Wicca, and then it was associated with folklore magic, and then it was associated with wisdom of some esoteric sort. So the word seems to mean different things to different people at different times. What is the current definition of the word witch?
Well, I suppose that depends on what tradition you're working with. In my case, my ancestors practiced plain old fashioned Western witchcraft since before the Romans ever got to Britain. So to me, that is using your God or goddess given abilities to enact, manifest, create, and press forward events. We do not influence people's minds. We do not change how people think. We can create, I know I can create, by manifesting events which will give advantage or change an event so that things can become better. What I never do is work anything to with something that would harm someone or do something that would be against somebody's will. That is completely against my religious traditions as well as my traditions as a witch. So, what does a witch mean?
Mhm.
I would believe that it's a spiritual pagan practitioner of very ancient arts.
When I was growing up in Greece, there were various people who were considered witches or wise people of one type or another. Witches were thought to be supernatural. They weren't considered to be people, although they might look like people. There were all sorts of stories told of women dancing on the mountains, and then it's revealed when someone gets close enough to one of their legs or both of their legs is either made out of metal or is of a donkey, and then you realize that you're seeing a witch. And also, there were the wise people who knew the chants and knew the folk medicines. And I remember I had pneumonia, which is what it was diagnosed when I came back to the States. But there, I was told I was the victim of the evil eye. So these women would come and chant a lot of numbers in with the words, and they'd light cloves. And every now and then, when they reached a crescendo with what they were chanting, the cloves would explode. It was very dramatic.
They do. There are it's a usually it's the dried bud of a flower, and it will explode because there's a little moisture in there still. Once you heat it up, poof, it goes. And there is oil in there. That's why they get eugenol, which is clove oil. So that's why that will explode. It's got oil, it's got combustibles right in it. But my father's ancestors are Britons.
Hmm.
And my last name, Waterman, has two meanings. One of them is a person who would ferry you across, let's say, the Thames or the Mersey in a black, usually a black gondola looking thing. And then you'd yell, boat on the Thames. And one of my ancestors would pick you up and bring you to the other side. It was kind of handy and it was a good profession. The other reason we are called watermen is that we brought water from the sky. We were druid rainmakers, I would say. And so there was that energy too, the water man, the man that brought you the water.
We had people who were water people in on Lemnos also, and there were always stories about someone who's really good at it that brought the rain, and the rain never stopped. It caused the flood.
I want to tell you a cute, funny story. I'm originally from Brooklyn.
Hmm.
And we had water meters and all those people and things, and that was all taken care of by the superintendent. But when we moved to Uniondale, Long Island, um, my mother was in the back, probably doing something in her garden, and the guy yelled at the gate, "Waterman!" And my mother yelled, "What?" And the guy kept going, "Waterman!" And my mother said, "What do you want?" And finally, lady, I'm the water man. I've come to fix your water meter. And my mother came over and said, my last name is Waterman. That's why I'm asking you what you want. It was just crazy. I was um I was 3 years old, and even I thought it was funny because it was just nuts. I was in a little those little plastic baby pools. My mom had me with all kinds of toys floating around and things. But so this poor man was trying to read our water meter.
Funny.
Well,
And
he didn't know. It was cute.
your had kept alive these folk traditions, and you grew up in what they used to call a fam trad. I don't know if they still call them fam trads now, but back in the day, they were called fam trads.
Yes, my father's father was very mysterious. He never taught me anything. I want to tell you that right now. But I know when we needed something, like we were moving, my grandfather had I don't even know what happened to it. It was a sort of a lacquered pot, or enameled pot. It was white on the outside and black on the inside. And he had another one that he made iced tea in, but if something was going on, my grandfather would just move away, go into the kitchen and throw something into the pot. He never told us what, chant some kind of chant. And before you know it, things were happening. It was really incredible. So later on, I started to learn how to do those things. I found some paperwork. I found some grimoires, some books that taught me those things. And also, when we moved to Uniondale, there were other members of my family, as well as some of my neighbors who were downright plain old fashioned witches that practiced sometimes white magic, sometimes black magic. Um, I don't do things with black magic, but I've experienced it, I've learned about it, and it's one of the reasons I stay away from it. I don't do anything that's going to harm somebody else. Aleister Crowley wrote, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." He copied it from someone, and that it harms none. And that's how I feel. That's my creed, that I don't harm anybody with what I'm doing.
That is good and that is admirable. I also have wizards, I guess, for lack of a better word, in my background. There were two that made the local folklore. One was called Menandros, and he was associated with the evil eye. He had
Dear.
the evil eye and he could avert the evil eye, and that was his claim to fame. And he also was seduced by elf lights who let him off during the night, and he'd wake up like miles away from his home. And
Oh
then
my goodness.
or a traditional ceremonial magician, and he has a few colorful stories told about him as well. So I
Well,
always like to grow up with those traditions.
I did too, but mine came more from yours are from Greece. Mine come from Old England, from the Britons.
Mhm.
They're based in Druid energy. They also worked with the Celtic gods and goddesses and I guess you could say the Norse. So how come I ended up Egyptian?
You resonated with those gods. That's
I
a no, like some people believe that only people of a certain descent should honor the gods of the people, but different pantheons call to. I've been called by several pantheons, and I spent many years studying their mysteries, and it never diminished the fact that I'm Greek and I most resonate with the Olympians.
well, all I know is that I tried to work with those Celtic deities, the Druidic deities, the Norse deities, and I love them and I do honor them as my ancestral gods and goddesses. But my spirit path, my soul path, is Kemetic. It's Egypt.
Hmm.
I connected with one of my past lives, as you know, whose
Yeah.
name is Setna Hamwest, um, more and more. And I've corrected everybody with the spelling. I always spelled it Khamuast. And I read on I do read hieroglyph, and I was reading on his stela and also on one of his ushabtis that that's not how you spell it. It's Kamweset, and
Ah,
it's not that different. Good old E. Wallace Budge pronounced it Comwest, and I looked and I saw, well, I'm not reading that. I saw the CHA or the KHA, but then I saw Waset, not West. Well, it is West, but what was that? It's different. So when I started using that name and that spelling, all kinds of amazing things have happened. You know that my life basically exploded for the better.
yes.
Yeah. So here I am. I've got the Book of the Dead behind me. Anubis is hiding back there. Hello, Anubis. And
Oh,
um, I judge myself. Behind me is the judge, they call the sacred judgment. And you have all the gods and goddesses behind me judging what I'm doing. So I got to really watch what I'm doing here. So, but that's what happened. I connected with that past life of mine. And before you know it, it changed my current life. And that's an amazing thing. Not everybody can say that.
yeah, it is an amazing thing, and I'm so happy for you and all the things that are coming into being around you. Now, the Pernateru temples, that concept, I remember when you were first talking about it, and it has evolved a great deal since your earliest thoughts about it. Would you care to tell us about the Pernateru temple and what?
Well, it's been around since about 1977. I had physical temples in Florida, in Manhattan, on Long Island. People we know, I worked for a long time with Carol Gonzalez, who's a dear
Mhm.
friend. She was part of my New York City temple for a while, and then she did her own thing, and that's fine. She's an amazing, incredible being. I
Yeah.
love her deeply. I do, and she knows that. And then I moved along because I was like a little gypsy. So I had that one group, and then I moved further on into Queens, and I built another group. And some of them are still working with different forms. There's a temple of Horus that belongs to my temple, Pernateru. What does Pernateru mean? Per means school of. Niteru is the pantheon of Egypt. I wanted to, people, they see the word per and they're like, as for, like per. And that's not what it is. It's per neteru. And it means the school, like per Ankh, for instance, which people do know about, means the school of life.
Hmm.
I include that in what I do. The school of life teaches you about hieroglyph. It teaches you about the particular symbols and the deities themselves. It's the beginning of the planetary experience. You go through per Ankh, so you learn who your deities are. You learn who the holidays are. You learn how to use different ritual tools, and you learn how to read and write hieroglyph. The first thing I teach everybody is cartouche, which is how to write your own name. which I always think is fun, people to learn how to do hieroglyph that way.
And now the Pernateru temples is mostly online. You still plan to bring in the physical being like that temples?
From time to time, I'm hoping that will happen. But this is 2026 Hercules, and I've got people I work with all over the world. So, you know, unless I have a mobile temple, like like a gigantic Winnebago or something that's a temple on wheels, or a helicopter or a plane, that isn't going to work. So we work on with Zoom, like we're doing right now.
Mhm.
Um, we're able to talk. I'm able to talk to people. I did rituals, for the New Year and all that. With my groups in New Jersey, which are, 720 miles away. And I also had some local people here that I worked with. And I'm also working with a group in Florida. I've got people I'm working with in England. One of them just tried to contact me 2 minutes ago to tell me he's watching, and doesn't know why he can't see us. We're not taped yet till tomorrow. So that was kind of funny, I thought. I will I would like in the future to make it so that people can be interactive with us. I think that would be very helpful to everybody.
I'm going to pass on that aspect of it. You're free to do whatever you wish, and I'll tell you why. The times that I've done it, someone in the audience, when it's their turn to speak, says something that eventually
Uh,
uh, warned by YouTube that unless it's corrected or removed, they're going to put strikes against the channel. So,
okay, well, that's very helpful. I'm glad to know that. So in that respect, then doing a taping and then bringing it to YouTube might be best. I am working voice. I will call it FaceTime. I do have an iPhone, and I do work with FaceTime with people individually for their particular needs.
awesome.
Well, I've got people that want to just be craftspeople, and they're going to learn how to make the symbols on a pot or on a box, or learn how to make a shabti. I have a new shabti workshop. I used to do that at what do you call it? The Pagan Pride on Battery Park. And I had hundreds of people, with all these little clay figures, and it was so much fun. And I ran out of putty after a while.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought well, when you've got 200, you're going to have 200 pieces, and you're going to make them 7 inches long, and suddenly you've got 2,000 people on a lawn. I had to make them like, a quarter of an inch long. But when I was showing everybody, and they all loved it, I told them that when I'm finished with this Sculpey that I worked with, you put it in the oven at 325 degrees, and for I think it's 15 minutes. But when they're that small, it's like 10 minutes, and bingo, you've got a statue that's rock hard, and you can paint it any way you wish.
And there are different levels also, different paths that you've shared in the past. Can you summarize those? Like
Sure.
Ark and
Well, the
Festival.
Planetary Temple goes into, I would call it 4 levels. You have what I call a seeker, someone who's coming and is interested and really wasn't sure where they're going yet, and they're invited into the temple to observe and see what if this is right for them. If it is, and they want to start taking classes, and they spend a year with me, they become what I call a neophyte. They're a new member of the temple, and then from there, I'm going to ask them where they want to go. As a journeyman, they will be an artisan, they might be a musician, they might be a poet, a scribe, and they're going to work with those things. And but at that point, they may move up to priest or priestess. In that case, I'm going to ask them which deities they're going to follow, or that I should say breathe inside them that they feel comfortable with. With me, of course, it's Ra and Horus and Osiris. I will also say I am, like you, very connected to Zeus and
Mm.
very connected to Odin, but I believe Odin comes from my ancestry. We have people in York, and we know that the Vikings attacked and conquered York um, around what? I think it's like 900, something like that.
Something like
Um,
that.
I have to watch those things and find out again. I'm not an expert on the Vikings. I'm not. I've got many friends that are, but I'm the first to admit things. I don't know everything. People that think they do scare me. I learned something new every day about something,
Yeah, so
you
do I.
know.
Learn something new, and I'll let the person know when they taught me something new.
Well, I never was one that stood on a soapbox and said, I know everything about Egypt. I don't see how that's possible. New mummies are being dug up every day. New information, new pyramid, they found new pyramids. They found new temples. Of course, when the great Aswan Dam was built, many temples went underwater. So there's a whole lot of things that have been destroyed because of that dam.
The Temple of Dendar, which both of us think highly of, was under the water, and then they saved it and took it to the Metropolitan Museum.
I want to talk about that for a second.
Sure.
What you see at the Metropolitan Museum is a chapel. It
Mm-hmm.
is the outer chapel, it's the sun chapel. If you were walking into the temple, you would see this arched sort of, sort of like a victory arch. That's what that is. And as you walk a little further into it, there's a little box, and it is a shrine for actually autocrator Caesar. The Romans actually built that temple. Shocking. Um, After Octavian took over Egypt, Augustus, they built that for the governor, the then governor of Egypt. And every time you look at it, you'll see. I wish I had a piece I could show you. On the sides of the temple, you're going to see what looks like a pharaoh. It's actually a governor, and he is being worshipped. Not he's worshiping; he's being worshipped and being honored by all the gods and goddesses of Egypt. They are bending to Rome, which is kind of a shocking thing if you look at it.
Yes, it is with our current understanding, but the Romans felt that the state is a god, and the state could be represented by the rulers, and
Yes,
they owned the world for a little while, and this was one of their ways of showing it, that even though
there
they
there
acknowledge.
is a stele, which is almost like a gravestone. It's a big piece of stone that's been carved, and they just discovered it, in which Tiberius is honored. Which
Hmm,
is Tiberius was the emperor after Augustus, but he's
yeah.
honored as an Egyptian god. So this is, and so they were carrying that through. They showed Tiberius wearing the pharaoh's crown and holding the incense and the ankh and being worshipped by the gods of Egypt and by the people of Egypt. And it just came, they just found it now. So that's pretty incredible. That tradition was going on at least as far as Tiberius.
Yes, the Greek Edemeros, or Euhemerus, as they call him in English, he lived during the age of Alexander.
Mm.
He saw Alexander become a god in many of the places that he conquered. So he wrote about that. And
Alexander was made pharaoh. He was given the double crown, and he sat. I believe he was working with not Luxor, but he was in Memphis, and he ruled in Memphis until he went north to Alexandria, which of course he built. And then he had the amazing library and the lighthouse, etc. But Alexander did a great deal of good for Egypt.
yes, he did. But he also did a lot of damage to Egypt too.
Well, if you didn't worship him, like all of the other autocrators, you felt the lash, at
Yeah.
least. I don't know why they call him great. He did a lot of things that weren't so good, like burning Persepolis to the ground. It was the capital of Persia.
Propaganda existed in antiquity as, as well as now. So
Well, and they had Larry the Mediocre, his brother. I'm
now
kidding.
you're doing a lot of interfaith among the pagan or witchcraft community. Because witch it touches upon many different traditions,
Of course it does.
culture,
Yes.
but you're also getting people of different um, traditions to work together on common goals, and that's something I feel very strongly about. Can you share what you're doing on that
It's
frontier?
kind of a coalition. Um, a lot of people don't have a direction, or they have traditions that they're not really happy with, and they're trying to redo them. What I'm working on is the original things. And I also want to bring people together to show that, if you worship this kind of energy or that kind of energy, that they're very similar and that they can work together. Not that, my club is bigger than your club, but let's be together. Let's be brothers and sisters. And so we're sharing spells, rituals, education with different groups. So people will then, learn a lot more about their other traditions. If you're a Druid, why don't you, you might want to learn about the Persians. Or if you're into the Roman group, maybe you might want to learn about Hindus, or you might want to learn about Buddhism, or, the Native American traditions. So I'm trying to bleed these things together that way, kind of my own version of the Library of Alexandria in a more modern way.
And that's very admirable and very much needed. There's enough duality and uh, hate in the world as it is. So anything that can be done to minimize that, to get people to listen to one another and to see that despite the difference in language or concepts, we're a lot more similar than we are different as human beings.
Now, I've also enacted something with the Fellowship of Isis and many other temples, which is going to be a Kemetic coalition. I am uniting the Egyptians, those who worship various and assorted gods and goddesses, so that they can also work as one unit, as an Egyptian unit.
That's awesome.
Um, well, it's kind of neat. There are so many different papyri and knowledge and things that have been lost or are all over the place. This way, we will have, like the English church, a common prayer group, so that we can all work together and understand each other more. And if you don't know a certain way to do things and somebody else does, and they want to know something else, we'll be able to share. And I think it's very important. Knowledge, you know, the word occult means hidden, and
Yes.
witchcraft and paganism and metaphysical things are all still under the name the occult. Well, if you don't share these things, if you don't give them to people, if you just die with them, they're gone. And like the Library of Alexandria, a lot of those knowledge was just burned away. And people did have some things, which is wonderful. But then other traditions, more monotheistic traditions, destroyed what was left of the library. So a lot of things were lost. So I don't want that to happen. Whatever we do have that's still around and that we can use and learn and maybe integrate into today's technology, let's do that. And that's what I'm working on. To go back to my level system. So the fourth level and fifth level, or yeah, fourth and fifth would be high priestesses and priestesses. Now, there's even a higher group, which are called godheads.
Mm.
They are the ones that are going to act as Isis, Osiris, Ra, etc., etc., during ritual. And you'll find I wrote a beautiful ritual for, um, I think it was March or February in today's Witch magazine. You will see that I've written it out very in a larger, more extravagant, glamorous scale. You'll see how that was done with, like 30 or 40 people. You can do it separately yourself, but I wanted to show how it was done in a temple.
Hmm.
And also, I did modern paganize it. We have earth, water, air, fire, north, south, east, and west, and there's an altar in the center. Egyptians always had their altar in the center of the temple. It was called the Holy of Holies, the peristyle, or the hyperstyle, excuse me. Peristyle is the outside. So you're going to have that secret thing, and I'm showing you something that people hid for centuries. I'm showing you what goes on in the inner Holy of Holies in the temple. I want people to learn these things so that you can do that. Maybe you're not part of a whole temple. Maybe you are your whole temple. So you can do that yourself.
Yeah, a lot of people that I've known in my journey who followed the pagan ways were solitaries, and they pretty much did their own thing, and occasionally meet other people. And back in the day, the Reconstructionists were uh, at the forefront of a lot of the pagan movements. I had difficulty with Reconstructionism because they weren't really reconstructing anything. They were cherry picking certain things and ignoring certain others. But that was then, and I wonder what they're doing now.
Um, I will not comment on that. There are good and bad reclaimers, people that, let's say don't really follow the ancient traditions. They've kind of done it their own way. And you know what? For those people, that works for them.
Yes,
Okay, so that I don't think of that in positive or negative. It's their way. And that's me. I don't judge anybody else's traditions as bad or good, or my way is better than your way. It's a lot of falderah. We have to follow what works for us.
I remember being told that I wasn't a follower of the Olympians in truth because they didn't follow the Athenian calendar. I've been told that even though I'm Greek and I was conditioned with this stuff, giving years of education, it meant nothing because the Greeks became Christians and all these weird things, which I just started stepping back from it. They're free to believe whatever they like, but their thing certainly wasn't my thing, and I couldn't understand their logic, but that's okay. I don't need to understand people's logic.
Well, it's in a simpler way. My parents wanted me very much to follow. My mother had decided for some weird reason she was Lutheran, so she went and she became Lutheran. And my father was half Church of England and half Catholic, which in a way is all Catholic. And so when I came and said, I'm going to follow our traditional path, they were like, okay, whatever. They didn't care because I was doing something that worked for me. But they did try to, a communion when I was 13 or 14, I forget exactly when,
Mhm.
as a Lutheran Christian. And at the same time, I was being initiated into the coven. So
I,
that was bizarre.
I had it easy because the Greeks have a belief that there's a heaven for virtuous pagans.
Oh, good.
So they assumed I was going there or to Mount Olympus. And they felt that no God would be would be so cruel as to not allow you to visit your family. So they felt that they could visit me in my pagan places and I could visit them in the Orthodox heaven because we're family and families should be allowed to be.
Well, that's cool.
That was a good.
Um, Go ahead. I'm sorry, Hercules. Finish, please.
That's okay, I'm finished. So I like that they had this belief because that made my life a lot easier. Although I'm sure some people in my family, believe negative things about my ancient ways.
Well, I mean, they've been worshiping those ancient ways before anybody was nailed to a cross, right? So it's either one way or the other. And I respect people that do whatever their religion is, so long as they are devout in it and they really believe what they're doing is pure and with a positive energy.
Hmm.
People that believe in things that are going to harm somebody else, that I have a problem with. My way is better than your way, and I'm going to hurt you because you don't worship what I worship. That's a problem for me. It was always a problem for me. Um, what can I tell you? I saw that growing up as a child. And you read in history, the Inquisitions, as it were, and being a witch, the witch trials in Salem and all over the place. I want to tell you, nobody who actually practiced witchcraft was ever burnt at the stake or hung. It was people that were poor, misunderstood. Look at Rebecca Nurse, for instance, in Salem. She was the midwife for Salem. When she was hung, the next year there were very few babies that survived. They didn't know what to do. It was more than boiling water. So there was a lot of children that died the following year in Salem, and that was sad.
That is sad. And unfortunately, there's way too much of it still going on in the world. And I'm glad that each of us is doing their part to reduce that hatred a little bit and to increase the world's understanding. Now, your words are being immortalized in print and been in several Zontar Press anthologies that are, I guess you could put them under the label of paranormal. And now you're getting your books published through the magazine publisher, which is
Yes.
publishing your works. Can you take us on a quick tour of your written work and let us know where we can find it?
Oh, that's very simple. Well, Xantar Press has Weird Times with Tim, of course, who is amazing, and our new one, which is about ghosts, isn't it? And you're in that too. Well, we're in both of those. We're in it together, Hercules. So those are Xantar Press. But today's witch is where I'm going to be mostly found. You'll get me from, I guess it was, I'm going to say from January to now, but I have articles that are going all the way as far as July, this coming July. They're available on Amazon, or you can go on todayswitch.net. I will be continuing to write about rituals and ceremonies and gods and goddesses. You'll also see me sticking my head out on Facebook almost every day,
Yes.
addressing things. This is a new thing for me. But as I said to you earlier today, well, I'm online doing this all the time. And I thought to myself, okay, um, then I can do this too a little bit. So I decided to try it. Those are only reels, they're short and they are to bring interest. This, what we do, is much more detailed, of course, and I find both of them very interesting. I'm getting good results. People are looking on YouTube, people are looking on Facebook and asking questions. The same thing is going to be happening with Phone a Wizard. I will do that on my Phone a Wizard page. I will be going live. I will do some readings. I've noticed a lot of other people that do readings do that. um, my dear friend Di Tracy Regula does ritual every single day on Facebook. I mentioned that in one of my quick reels. She was a very large influence in my life. Um, all I can say is I revere and respect and quite love her very much as my sister. She is a divine high priestess of Isis. I also want to mention Lady Ria Rivera, who was one of the, and Carol, who were the creators of enchantments. They are also dear friends. They influenced me a great deal. And of course, I'll call him a witch's saint, Herman Slater
Yes.
from Magical Child. Um, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you folks if it hadn't been for Herman. He brought me through, it was all roads lead to Rome. Well, in New York City, all roads led to Magical Child.
Yes. And Herman and Ed.
Herman and Ed and the late lady Rhiannon, who just passed away, Rhiannon Lenore, who was Valerie Busacella, who was another dear, dear friend. Pagan communities lost a lot of great people.
Yes.
Um, And I could go on forever with those, and I'd rather not. There are people they're in my heart, and they'll always be there. They taught me all of them taught me. I was very lucky as a very young child, teenager, I should say. I met a great deal of people um, that influenced the magical world, including, well, I won't go there. I won't do that, but there are people that are there. My other home was the Metropolitan Museum growing up as a child.
Mine too.
I was, I would walk. I saw the rest of the museum, but let's face it, I beelined to the right to the Egyptian wing. So much so that the guards almost were like, "Oh, not you again." I had a button. I made an Egyptian collar out of, and I don't know where it is now, out of Metropolitan Museum buttons. I had been there that often. So it was kind of an interesting, but it was my place. That was my place there. And after that, I would walk all the way down to the West Village for a cappuccino and to watch, and people watch and to sketch with my book.
Oh, awesome.
That was cool. It was. I loved it. I don't regret 1 minute of that. It was a wonderful growing up experience, you know,
So we
and it
probably
was,
that's there as well because I used to be a frequenter at the Metropolitan Museum. I went to the Brooklyn Museum a couple of times because Charles Atlas was inspired by a statue of Hercules there to start thinking about building muscles naturally. And then he went to the Brooklyn Zoo, which is very near, and he saw lions stretching.
oh,
And
sure.
big muscles. That gave me his admiration of Hercules and his looking at the lions gave me the idea for what became the Charles Atlas dynamic tension system. So that was another pilgrimage I undertook several times. With the Met, I was there all the time.
I love the Brooklyn Museum, and right next door is the Botanical Gardens,
Yeah.
which are absolutely, if anyone gets a chance, the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens are absolutely fantastic. And I've gone to other smaller museums. There's the Philadelphia Museum as well, and the Chicago Oriental Institute. And I've been very lucky. I've been to the Louvre. I've been to the London Museum. I've been to Berlin Museum. The tape just went and the brain. So I've been lucky, and I've been to Cairo. I've been all over Egypt, and it's beautiful. It's also, I got off the plane. It was 135 degrees, folks.
Wow.
Yeah, hot.
I've journey several times. I want to devote a whole show to just your world, the globe trotting, and
One of these days.
journey in that aspect of it. Now, because your words are being immortalized, and now you're able to talk to people directly, and that's been growing too. And in addition to the panel appearances in your own shows that you've had on Mount Olympus, you've appeared on Tim's show, you've appeared on Paul Dale Roberts' show, and you've appeared on other shows as well, and you started doing your own shows. So, what is the extent of your video imprint, and how can people tune into those things?
I guess that's me all over the place. I'm also going to be April 7th. I'll be on the Diana Montfort show, who's another dear friend of ours. She asked me, that's what, next week coming up, next Tuesday, I believe it is, and I'll be with her. So wherever you want to, I can be found everywhere, which is kind of crazy, but it's true. You can find me. If you want to look for me in Facebook, go to Michael K. Waterman. You can also find me very easily on the Pernataro Temple, either on Instagram or Facebook. But I really recommend you do Facebook. I don't do Instagram that much. I don't know. I'm not really comfortable with that medium yet. I'm very good with art and science and magic, but when it comes to technological things, I'm not as great. So I'm going to be honest, and so I'm negotiating. That's difficult for me. You can also get me at Phone a Wizard on my phone number. The Phone a Wizard phone number is 516-650-3691. I also have a half-page ad in Today's Witch for Phone a Wizard, as well as I said, an art gallery of my paintings and my sculptures. And there have been a lot of inquiries on those things. Um, so that's kind of where I am right now. And I am teaching, and I do have about 9 high priestesses and high priests that I'm working with to
Wow.
learn the Godhead. Well, they've been with me for a few years, and they're learning the Godhead techniques and things. We're not using the masks and all of those things anymore. It's just too much work. I was making somebody laugh the other day when we started doing Egyptian ritual. It used to take us 3 hours to get dressed. By the time you wore all those everything, I mean, I still wear collars and things, but we had elaborate robes and heavy jewelry and eye makeup and the whole 9 yards. We all looked like a bunch of Cleopatras, a bunch of Liz Taylors. It was crazy, or Ramses the Second, from the Ten Commandments. We were all dressed that way, and it took too much time. And when you're in college and when you're working, you don't have that time. So now I tell people, wear a cool T-shirt like this. If you're gonna wear an amulet, all right, or whatever. But the most important thing is to know the rituals. And that's what I was getting at. If you're Anubis, know what your part is. If you're Horus or Set or Isis or Nephthys or whomever deity you're emulating and bringing out to the people, you should know who you're dealing with or what you're dealing with and what you're bringing to the table.
Now, we're approaching the last quarter of our conversation today,
Surely.
and you have had powerful dreams, and your dreams are starting to manifest in a very powerful way. So,
True.
are there any dreams for the future you care to share?
Well, I did see myself working, traveling across the country, probably with my two new books. Um, One is the grimoire. It is the book of Setna, And the other one is a murder mystery kind of. It's a reworking of history, and it's called The Serpent Wore Two Crowns. That's the first book that's going to be put out. Um, Everybody who knows me knows I've always been obsessed with Cleopatra. Well, this is a Cleopatra what if story, and I'm going to leave it at that because it's kind of, believe it or not, a lot of it's based on historical fact. There are holes in the story that she died when she did, where she's buried, and and how, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to put another theory out there. It's a historical novel. So this is not historical fact. It's historical fact stretched into a story.
When you finish that and it gets published, you have to go on Michelle Brittany and Nicholas Diak's show. Michelle especially has a fascination with all things Egyptian, especially mummies.
I was very good friends a while back with the Egyptologist Bob Breyer.
Mhm.
He wrote the book Egyptian Magic and many others. He works at Stony Brook University, and he's actually mummified a few people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a special, I think it was National Geographic, it could be from the Discovery Channel, but he literally had a cadaver that was probably given to science, and he mummified it in the fashion of the ancient Egyptians. So he worked with natron, and he worked with different resins and oils, and he wrapped it was a man, wrapped him up, and after he was desiccated and shrunk out, and he looked like something out of a museum.
Wow.
And that's what I want. I hope that when I decide to leave this planet, that someone will do that for me too. The only thing I hope that they're not going to do is the thing with the nose, with the the brain, scrambling the brain with the nose. That they can do. They can do without,
Yeah. Well,
because the Egyptians had no idea what the brain was for, which is really
it's
weird.
something doable, certainly. Maybe difficult to do, but I have no doubt that you will accomplish it.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, these days embalming comes from ancient Egyptian embalming.
Mm.
So, I mean, I'm sure somebody will know how. I had an idea to be um, dipped in acrylic resin, desiccated, and then put into resin so I would last for a while. The Egyptians believed that the corpse, the body, and the soul were connected by silver cords still, and that's why they wanted to have a body. And if they didn't have a body, they had shabshis, the little figures, or they had statues of themselves. As long as there was some kind of a physical representation and their name still existing, they would have immortality.
Awesome. Now, you're part of an experiment that I'm starting around the color blue, and we're calling it the cerulean sphere. And
I'm covered in blue Hercules, and I've got
yes, I know.
sapphires and everything else on.
Now, you've talked a lot about the magic of lapis, and you've mentioned sapphires. And I'm trying to find a role for everyone that fits them, will give them a greater platform to expand on the things that they are experts on. Yes, beautiful.
This is a 43 carat sapphire. I carry it with me wherever I go. It is known to be very healing. I send pictures of it to people, and they've told me they've had great results. It has healing properties, and it is the color of what you call cerulean blue, or actually cobalt blue. And cobalt healing is done with this sapphire. Her
The
name is Saphira, by the way.
cobalt blue is my favorite color. It's the color of the sky a second before it turns black, when the
Hmm.
clouds are all visible.
And
And
I,
since you are a gemologist, in addition to very many other things, I think I'll make your position on that our gemologist. And you could talk about, as you did with lapis, you could talk about sapphires, you could talk about any other earth energies that
well,
very blue, or any other magics that you know in witchcraft or in Egyptian lore that has to do with the color blue.
sure. I mean, I'm always covered. There's lapis lazuli here, and there's I think it's a 4 carat sapphire right there. I wear the color because it gives me energy. I'm a Virgo. They say my birthstone is sapphire. But I've always worked in an energy of of a blue sphere when I work to help heal people. I am not going to tell you. I work with their healing abilities. I'm not going to tell you that, yes, I've cured somebody of cancer or all these things. I'm not going to make claims like that. I will say that I've aided people in their healing. But, someone said, I think it was Jung, that part of that comes from yourself.
Yes.
If you don't want to heal, you're not going to. And that people know that. If you don't want your body to do something, look, I had pemphigus vulgaris. I was supposed to be dead by now. Okay. I took doses of doxycycline and prednisone and other things, and I had the cobalts around me. But I wanted to live. I had things to do, and look, I'm pemphigus free. It took a lot. It took things out of my skin, my mouth. It ruined a lot of things in my body, which are now healed. But it took a long, long time. But I had the will. I wasn't going anywhere, guys. I had the wherewithal to say, I have things to do. You are not going to conquer me. I'm going to conquer you. And I did.
And I'm glad that you made that decision. I'm glad that you're here, and we have a lot to learn from each other and a lot of good to do in the world. So thank you for being here, and making that decision. Um, I am also of the mind that you have to decide what you want to do with your energies and yourself. And as you know, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I joined a organization called the PD Avengers, PD for Parkinson's disease, because Hercules in the comic book joined Marvel's Avengers. So that was a mighty image mythically to have for me to work with. Then I joined Spark the Night, which the symbol is a white lightning bolt on a blue field. So that fits into the whole cerulean blue thing that I'm doing. And I found out about an organization or initiative today called F Parkinson's. So of course, I'm looking into that because that's
Well,
between these things. What do you
my warrior is my cobra. He's my spirit animal, my spirit
think?
form. And when I'm going to heal people or feel that energy, they will see a cobra. I've been wearing a cobra on my finger for, oh, I don't know, about maybe 55 or 60 years. I've always had that energy. And one of my past lives was a cobra in
Awesome.
India. Yeah. All I can tell you is I was aware of the redcoats, the British, but I was in the forest. They didn't see me. I was too busy hunting for either snakes or other small animals and things. And, I don't think they would have noticed me anyway, because they don't care about cobras. They would have killed me, I suppose. Um, but so, I'm here. So if someone has questions, if they want to know anything about what I do, you can call me, you can get me on my various situations. You can find me on the books. You can find me, of course, at todayswitch.com or take no, forgive me, todayswitch.net. We are not .com, we're .net. And you can find me with Hercules always. He is the arbiter, he is the hero. So he's the one that makes everything else that we do work. I'm shouting out to him because he's amazing. I wouldn't be where I am without this man. And I mean that from my heart.
Thank you for saying that. But again, you have this all in you, and it's your time. So shine like the rising star.
Well,
There's,
thank you. Thank you for that. But as I say, if anybody has questions, I'm very easy to reach.
and we have time for one last thought. What thought do you want to share with people as we wrap it up for the day?
Okay, very simple. First and foremost, before you do anything else in the world, take care of yourself. You're the only self you've got, and believe in yourself. The moment you say I can't, you can't. So you say there's the Greek goddess Hecate, or and I should call her Titaness. She said, I can and I will. And I use that, and don't, if you think you're stuck in something, think about what else you can do in the world. I have an axiom I live by. It is the ability to adapt, is the ability to survive. It's probably written by Charles Darwin. I saw it on a Westinghouse commercial with a chameleon on a branch. It was in some magazine, and I saw that, and I was like, wow, yeah. I mean, I'm a makeup artist, but I was also a visual merchandiser. I do hair. I'm a sculptor. I'm a painter, and now I'm a writer. So I've adapted my life to what was thrown at me. And I'm telling everybody, do the same thing. Don't say, "Well, I'm stuck here," because you're not. You have one life. Even if, like me, you believe in reincarnation, you're only going to be you once.
Right.
Make the most of him or her.
Thank you. Wise words from a wise man. Thank you, Setna. Always a pleasure and an honor speaking with you. I wish you success in all your listed and upcoming endeavors. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you. And life, health, and prosperity to you all, and blessings. Good night.
Many blessings.